This is Ready, Set, Renovate, a podcast delivering renovation inspiration and motivating you to put your home beautifying ideas into motion. Daniel Builders builds trust in 5 ways. Honesty is one of those ways. Yes, that sounds cliche, and yes, talk is cheap. After all, any contractor can say that. So in this episode, we brought on one of our clients to do the talking. His name is Brian Holmes, and he speaks candidly about his guide, design, build experience with Daniel Builders. Spoiler alert, his renovation had some, shall we say, bumps in the road. As you'll hear, problems not only arise during the custom renovation process, they also reveal the true character of your contractor. So let's get to it. When it comes to HGTV, drama is absolutely necessary. They need drama to sell their shows, to gain viewership. When it comes to personal renovation experience, drama is the enemy. Drama is something that you want to avoid as a general contractor, and I know as a homeowner, it's something that you definitely don't want when going through the renovation process. We have the guest today, Brian Holmes, who's had a major renovation on his home and knows exactly what kind of drama that entails and how a good GC can manage drama and minimize drama. Tell us a little bit about the project that you had done, Brian, just right out of the gate.
Sure. Well, the major one, it was a main floor where we eliminated walls. We flipped the kitchen from one side to the other. On the basement or garage area, it was a dingy old garage that we turned into I think about 800 square feet of finished space, kind of playroom type area. Upstairs, we added a bedroom by adding a closet and a bathroom. So it was a pretty elaborate project. I feel like it was about 6 months, and we had to move out. So it was serious, but it was good.
Leading up to that project, you were evaluating contractors. What were some of the big fears you had getting closer and closer to making your selection, who you're going to go with?
Yeah, well, we actually test drove you guys on a smaller project there, I guess about a year and a half before that. We had just moved to Greenville, before we moved to Greenville, we had to finish a small upstairs area, and we didn't know anybody over here, and we really it was a Google search to start interviewing firms. And then my wife and I met Daniel and Andy. They'd come out to the house. And then that first smaller project, we were just really impressed with, professionalism, cleanliness, response, and communication. So in that project was maybe like a $50,000 project. And then the bigger one, I'm scared to remember the number. It was a lot more than that. So we had a lot of confidence at that point that you guys were the people.
Nice. And so the project started where you came to us, to Daniel Builders with design ideas.
Right.
Tell us a little bit of how it went from these ideas to actually starting construction.
Yeah, so the design phase was more elaborate there on that second one, but it was a good exchange. Fortunately for me, my wife is really good at envisioning things like that, and she was able to go back and forth with the Daniel Builders design team and say, well, can we do this, or what are your ideas or thoughts about that? And just a very healthy exchange. And then from a financial perspective too, you're just always, as a homeowner, kind of worried about, well, what does this cost? What does that cost? And it's like, you understand the cost of the design phase, and you understand that, there's not going to be 7 different iterations, but you can go back and forth as many times as you need to create a second one or a third one, and it's not going to add up in the cost area.
And did it stay in design for a while? Do you remember how long it was in design before you guys actually broke ground on the renovation?
It was definitely a couple of months just because of the scope of it. It was a little while, moving this wall, or can we move that wall, and figuring out where load-bearing walls would be in a shift like that. So I would say 2 months-ish, but it could have been a little bit more, somewhere in that age.
And towards the end of that, do you feel like you had a pretty clear vision of what to expect?
Yes, with an asterisk being something that scope. Our house was built in 1938. you watch HGTV, and I mean, I don't know what knob and tube wiring is, but every time they find it, it's a nightmare.
It's
right?
not a good thing. Huh?
So I'm like, is that going to be in there? So, you just kind of go into it knowing that there might be some surprises, but again, like all these little things that Daniel Builders does, from the way you dress, to the way you address the client, to the way you keep things clean, you're not smoking on site. Like I know all these things, and it gives you confidence that like if something comes up, like we're going to work together to find a solution, not just like what the solution is, but also like cost wise, you're just not scared of it. If Daniel Builders does maybe misses something, which happens in a scope, a renovation
yes.
like that, of that scope, you don't feel like it's all going to get passed on to you. We're going to work together to find solutions, and just confidence that the communication is there.
You're absolutely right. Inevitably, something will happen. Something is going to happen. Explain. Do you remember some of the hiccups that happened through your project and how they got resolved?
I do. I mean, again, with that scope, we're doing a bunch of stuff outside as well, including pouring a driveway. The driveway, there was a retaining wall thing that came up, and I mean, the driveway in particular was really stressful because I think that both we and you guys felt like maybe a subcontractor was letting us down a little bit. And but I felt like we were on the same side of that it was disappointing to both of us. And then we were all, again, working together to find a solution. Like, hey, you guys came to us and said, hey, we'll use somebody else if you're just tired of dealing with this particular subcontractor. But we found a solution that, I mean, to this day I'm satisfied with how that was resolved. And I think, again, communication is so key. I mean, Bob and the team were in constant communication. That was a very, very stressful issue. And the communication, I think it just diffuses. It's like, I mean, and it was almost daily and sometimes multiple times a day while that was getting resolved. But you felt like there was going to be a solution. It's stressful. It's unavoidable when things like that come up, but you know that you're not kind of hung out to dry. You got a teammate.
So going into a major renovation, it's unrealistic to expect it to be flawless, perfect. But what you're looking for in a renovation contractor is somebody who you can connect with and communicate with, and who ultimately you trust.
Right.
When those problems do happen,
right,
that they're going to handle it, manage it, and work with you on it.
Yeah.
Is that right?
Yeah, absolutely. And especially, again, I can't stress enough in the cost area, like you want to know that if you feel like, I think we did a good job at times of saying like, hey, I don't know how we could have anticipated this. I wish you guys would have but it's like little things, and you see the reaction to that, which is like, yeah, you're right. I think we, kind of honest communication on that. Then when the big things come up, you don't worry about it as much, even though it's stressful, because there's going to be a solution that works for everybody.
And then you had an issue with having to wait on a refrigerator for a while. I know that was
surprised you have that in your notes.
Yeah, I know that, and I am highlighting some of the challenges in a renovation because it would do a disservice to somebody who's considering a renovation, thinking, you know what, I can expect everything to go exactly as planned.
Right.
It doesn't happen that way. There is a happy ending though, right?
Oh yeah.
I mean, you got to the point where the deliverable was something you love. Am I right?
Oh yeah, we love it. And I think that's I guess the best advocacy is the finished product. I mean, we moved back in, I think, December the 23rd of 2020. So we're 2 years and change after that. And we love walking into we opened up the kitchen. It's got, huge French doors that lead out to a deck that you guys helped us build. And I mean, just the light, the brightness, it makes you want to be there. It's a really enjoyable finished product. And I mean, again, we're 2.5 years later, and there's not one thing where I look around and say, oh, that wasn't done right. Not one thing. Now, there's some things maybe that we think, oh, I might have done this differently, or maybe, but not little things. And it's not design. It's more like you live in a place for 2.5 years, but the finished product is fantastic.
We're certainly glad you're satisfied with it, and obviously you're one of our best clients. We are grateful for our clients.
Yeah.
We're grateful for the ones that we just formed a working relationship with that's productive, and you've definitely been that to us. We're grateful. What would you advise to someone who is considering a major renovation and just doesn't even know how to get that started?
Well, I mean, definitely I would talk to several different contractors and just see how they're responding, ask the same questions to different contractors and see how they're, responding to it. That's step one. Then step two for us would always be talking to somebody else that had worked with like you all or worked with a general contractor. And I mean, the advocacy, it's my business too. The advocacy is in the satisfied clients. So knowing that, knowing that other people had been satisfied with your finished product, I think is a big deal. And especially when you understand the scope. We're trying to build a pool right now down in Hilton Head, and building a pool anywhere right now is a nightmare. But then, you talk to somebody with the same scope of project that you have, and you're like, okay, these are the people. Like, I can't expect this to go perfectly. There's all these different people involved in the equation. But when you understand the scope, and if you're doing a similar scope, then I think that the advocacy from the client is key. And I know you guys, including us, have a lot of people here in the metro area that would advocate for you.
Yeah. Well, we say our satisfied clients are our best salespeople. I mean, there's no question they do the most benefit as far as sales go. We're going to get pictures of this project a little later today. We'll be able to showcase.
That stressed my wife out, by the way. She's like, everything's got to be perfect. I'm like, oh, okay, I got to go.
Well, we'll get to get these pictures to our clients and to those who may be interested in becoming clients a little bit later. Brian, I'm grateful for you taking some time to talk.
Sure.
And grateful for you as a client.
Yeah, well, we're grateful for you guys. We really are satisfied, and that's advocacy right there 2 years later.
Until next time.
We're delighted you tuned in for today's episode of Ready, Set, Renovate, your guide design build resource. Are you ready for your home to undergo a transformation? We'd love to talk to you about it. Visit us at danielbuilders.com and tell us about the home renovation you envision. In the meantime, subscribe to Ready, Set, Renovate, and we'll keep the renovation inspiration coming.